Get everything set up here. Not want that to do that. One. There we go. Computer's being slow. Getting this set up how I want it. Anyways, hope everybody's having a good week. On here, just want to talk about narcissism. Imagine that. That's what I'm on here for. But if you guys don't follow me, I'm a self-aware narcissist. I'm on this platform to bring awareness, growth, healing, and change. That's why I'm here. That's the purpose, the point of it. I'm going to adjust this one real quick here. It has to be up and close and personal. Anyways, from Japan. Awesome. Good to see you all the way from Japan. That's good. Oh, well, that'll be fine. So anyways, hello. Good to see you guys. Let's see. Can it stay up if I put it up? I can adjust that later. Do you have content on why? So I'll read off the questions. I'm on a couple different platforms. So if I don't answer your question, it is not on purpose. And there is a little bit of a lag on some of it. So I'm just trying to keep it together and kind of put everything, but I wanted to try to get on as many platforms as possible to be able to talk to you guys tonight. So if you guys haven't been around, Thursday nights is normally when I'm on platforms. So normally it's TikTok. TikTok has been my go-to for the longest period of time. However, we've been going on YouTube for the past little bit because I've been doing dual lives with people, and it's a lot easier to do dual lives on YouTube than it is on TikTok, than it is on Instagram, all the time stuff. So that's why we're on here. So anyways, my name is Ben Taylor, self-aware narcissist, on here to be able to talk to you and answer some questions. So got a bunch of different platforms going on, and I'll try to read off the questions in case it's not on your current screen, and then we'll just keep rolling as best we can. So thank you guys much for being here. So I'm glad some of the stuff I've been sharing has been eye-opening. Yeah, so it's been really good. Hello from Chesapeake as well, or right up here, right where I am as well. Hello from Japan. That's pretty awesome. Awesome. Great to see you guys. So yeah, we got several people dropping some questions in here. Yeah, it's I don't have a fancy app for it, mainly because TikTok doesn't let me go on multiple platforms. So right now I just have multiple phones up. So I've got two phones, one on Instagram, one on TikTok, and then I have my computer, which is going onto Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Yeah, I don't even know my Twitter login, but it's shooting someplace. Anyways, hello, good to see you guys on here. Got a lot of people jumping. Yeah, no, I am in Chesapeake, Virginia. That's actually where I live. That's ironic. Oh man, I can't see that one screen. Maybe I can move it over. There we go. All right. So anyways, if I miss some stuff, so I'm getting on here, but if I miss some stuff, don't be upset if I get up stuff. I'm running technically 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm running 5, and I've got them up on my screen so I can actually read all of them. I need to fix my screen because it keeps like falling down, but what we got is what we got. So anyways, let's see. I keep going back to him because of empty promises, me thinking he will always change, but every time it gets worse. I'm distant from family and I don't have anyone to reach out to. So that's the hard thing, is like a lot of times narcissists will future fake. They will give you thoughts and promises of going back, of saying, hey, I'm going to change. Hey, it's going to be different. And then you realize it's never any different. It's a constant cycle because they're not willing to work on themselves. They're not working to actually put in the change and to be different. That's one thing that's really difficult, is because they'll give you a lot of ideas. They'll give you a lot of ideas of, I'm going to change. I'm going to do something like that. And then they end up not doing it at all. It's really hard to be able to go from that. Oh, awesome. More people popping in. Richmond, Fort Wayne, Arizona. Awesome. Great to have you guys here. Whitney, good to see you. Thanks for the low-key call out today on the video. I appreciate that. So it's good stuff. And TikTok, we got some people hitting up in there. So Whitney Cordell got Roller Coaster of Love. If you guys don't follow them, got Clarity Note. There he is. Hello. Good to see a bunch of people on here. So anyways, let's see. All right, let's see what we got. Let's start rolling, everybody. How do you negotiate family narcs? What about cutting people off completely? Sometimes you have to cut people off completely, even if they're family. If they're not willing to acknowledge your boundaries, if they're not willing to live in an aspect that honors you, that respects your boundaries, respects what's going on, sometimes you have to cut them off. If you don't already follow on TikTok, especially, she's on there. She's on Instagram as well. But abuse is abuse. Bree, she specifically speaks to a lot of stuff where it comes from the fact of dealing with narcissistic parents. That's kind of what her perspective is as well. My ex-spouse was literally talking about our future daughter and how she'll be so cute while he was cheating on me on the floor below in the same apartment building, but refused to get his stuff. Yes, very much so. Some are like, what in the world is going on? Like, I can't believe like they were actually cheating on me and texting someone while they're talking about marriage, while they're talking about a kid, like whatever it might be. And that happens a lot where it's like they're future faking. They're saying like, hey, I want to be with you, but at the same time, they're texting someone else. And it's the idea of like always having like multiple supplies, always having like multiple people on tap to be able to get what they want. That's that idea. Um, hello. TikTok is a bunch of people like saying where everybody's from. That's awesome. Texas, Northern Virginia, Chicago. Awesome. Good to see you guys on here. Sweet. My ex is a narc. He can't handle differences. Many times he left then come back. Yeah. So a lot of times, like a narcissist can't handle differences, especially when you're bringing him up, and especially when you're bringing up the idea and the concept of like, hey, something's wrong. Like something's not how it's supposed to be, or you're holding them accountable. They don't. They don't want to take that accountability. Like accountability, honesty, vulnerability, all these things are like anti-narcissism. Like they're anti what a narcissist is about. And so as a result, they're going to try to run from it. They're going to try to hide every single time. And they'll just keep running away. Exonarch, do you know of anyone who charge the right thing to do, but you're kind of worried about that? Just so charge as far as like restraining order or like filed something against them. Like, yes, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have done that because of the fact that they have to sometimes. They have to go no contact. They have to go to the place where they're saying, like, hey, this isn't working out. There's no way, like, you can't be in my life. And then they have to go no contact. They have to push people away. They have to say, hey, I need a restraining order because this person is getting obsessive and I'm starting to worry for not just my emotional and my mental safety, but my physical safety as well, or the safety of my kids. Like you have to be really careful of that. My ex claims to be in love with his new supply, but won't stop blowing up my phone, begging me to stay in his life. Finally, to block on all mediums and go private on socials. Yes, no, absolutely. A narcissist typically, like when they leave, they still want to keep that door open. They still want to keep it open to be able to get more supply, to be able to get emotional support, or just to be able someone to come back into and hit them up for sex, for love, for whatever it might be. They're going to come back in and they're going to try it. So a lot of times I say they want to like keep that tap open. Like they want to keep every single supply open where they can still come back to it. And if they give you breadcrumbs, if they give you enough pieces to go along with it, then eventually you'll be like, oh, like they're still there. They're still in my life, or they've always been in my life. And so you keep them there. So it's one thing to be really careful. They're anti-empathy, vulnerability, etc. But do they know how to fake it? Yes, a lot of them do know how to fake empathy. They do know how to fake not as much vulnerability, but I do see some of that. Sometimes they'll fake even like crying, like different things like that. Do I watch Sam Vadkin? No, I have not watched any of his stuff. Everything I have is just my own right now. Do I set boundaries myself? Yes, I've had to set boundaries myself. Good question. So boundaries are for everybody. Like they're for you, everybody as well. So it's like the idea of like boundaries of how I'm going to handle myself with a toxic person, how I'm going to handle myself with a healthy person, how I'm going to handle myself with internet trolls, like all the type of stuff. Like all of those are different boundaries. So like an example, like for me setting in place when I was with the girl who had BPD and narcissistic traits, I had to block. I had to get to the place of I confessed it, apologized, like went down that whole road of confession and working through a bunch of stuff. Everybody knew about it. It was like 10 months later that I finally got to the place where I was like, okay, now I'm blocking. Like I couldn't bring myself to it. That was like the aspect of the trauma one. But part of that was a boundary. Part of it was like, hey, this person is not changing. This person is not helping me grow. And this person flaunting their life in front of me is not going to help me get the change that I'm seeking on a day-to-day basis. So I had to have those boundaries. I had to block. 3 months no contact, and now I miss him. I think I'm crazy. Hey, totally understand. You're on TikTok. So I recently just did a video on TikTok. It just came out a couple hours ago. Go and watch that. Okay. Because it's really important for you to understand this. You're going to feel crazy after the abuse. You're going to feel crazy after they leave. And this is why you go no contact. This is why you ghost. Because otherwise, you're going to be on social media and you're going to look at social media and you're going to be like, why in the world is all their social media covered with their new supply? Covered with a new person out there, and you're going to start to go crazy. You're going to start to think like, wait a second, maybe it was me, maybe it was my fault, maybe I did something wrong, because they've obviously found love and it wasn't with me, so I must have been the problem. Here's the thing that I want you to think about. Watch the video and you'll hear it like all succinctly. Here's the thing I want you to think about. The feeling that you're feeling right now of like, I think I'm crazy, they found their supply, like I must have been wrong. Here's what I want you to think about. When you're thinking that thought, that is the same exact thought that someone else had at the beginning of your relationship. It's a cycle. And it's going to continue time after time after time, because the narcissist is not willing to acknowledge who they are, acknowledge what the problem is, and to work on themselves every single day. They're not willing to get honest, to be vulnerable, and to start changing. That's what it is. YouTube's got like the crazy long questions here. What's going on over here? Can you help people understand? I need my glasses on. Can you help people understand the predatory and attention addiction component? Okay, interesting. Let's learn more. I would have never guessed someone would position themselves to build fake trust as common, completely illegitimate, all claims, and take advantage of those they attract. The manipulator's attention, the control component, is hard for people to understand. For example, targeting those they claim to align with, addiction or mental health, and yet are actively these platforms to take advantage. Yeah, no, absolutely. That is a great question. We're going to talk about it right now. Ready? All right. So one thing I want to point out there is what you said. They build fake trust. Yeah, build fake trust, completely illegitimate all claims. All right. So we're going to jump in real quick here. All right. If you guys didn't know, book of the month for me. So it's is that backwards on TikTok? I guess it's backwards everywhere. It's fine. Book of the month is Psychopath Free. So if you guys don't have it, get it. It's a good book, but that is the book that we're reading this month. Book last month was right here, actually. When Narcissism Comes to Church. I don't have like the official cover. It's hidden someplace. But absolutely really great book. Psychopath Free is a really great book. All right, so let me see. Which one are we going to touch on? I'm going to do this one, okay? We have the same hopes and dreams. So chapter 2 of Psychopath Free, it goes through, and the title, the section is called The Manufactured Soulmate. The title of the chapter is called Personalized Grooming, okay? And this is what I want you to hear. Talking to you, YouTube. This is what I want you to hear, okay? Here's the psychopath, narcissist, sociopath, whatever you want to call them. We have the same hopes and dreams. Listen to this right here. And I'm gonna change psychopath to narcissist. It's all the same in this book, really. All right, but that's fine. I'll just read it. The psychopath will consume your present life, but they will also take over your future. In order to raise the stakes in the relationship, they will make many long-term promises. This ensures that you are highly invested in the relationship. After all, who wants to stick around for a romance that has no future? The psychopath takes this a step further, quickly discussing major life events like marriage and moving in together. There are decisions that typically take years to arrive to in healthy relationships, but you don't need all that time. You already know you'll be spending the rest of your life with them. If you've always dreamed of a family and kids, they will fit that role perfectly. If you want to start a business, they'll be your right-hand man or woman. If you're in an unhappy marriage, they'll have a plan already to replace your spouse. What you might not notice until later is that these plans always seem to involve some sort of sacrifice on your end, never theirs. The manufactured soulmate on this chapter is the idea of how they use that predatory cycle, of how they use different aspects in how they interact with other people to be able to manufacture and to be able to control people, to be able to lock people in. If you don't have that book, get it. Psychopath Free. It is the book of the month if people are interested in reading that and being able to engage on that level. If you're interested even more, there's going to be a couple videos coming out, I believe, this week. This week or next week, I don't know. They're coming out sometime. I'm trying to get ahead because we're going on vacation in a couple weeks. But there's going to be coming out on YouTube that are how narcissists groom their victims. I'm excited. It's my first like three-part video, but it's talking about narcissists grooming their victims. That's part of it as well. I just left my Narcissist X on the 3rd of this month. Can anyone give me advice on the next step I need to take for myself? He's blocked from everything. First off, I want to say great job blocking on everything. That's one of the hardest things to do. Just so you know, it's going to get harder. Okay. Like, I'm just being real with you. It's going to get harder. The first step is getting out. Getting out is super key. The second step is not feeling super crazy as after you get out, because that happens. What I call this is, I call this like the limbo land. The aspect of you're out, you're not being physically, mentally, emotionally abused in that moment. Like, there's not someone standing in your room screaming at you, but there is the aspect that even though there's peace because you're not having that active abuse, it's not peaceful because you still have those thoughts, those feelings, you still have that pull, that tie. And really what you're going to go through is now you're going to go through detox. You're going to go through the time of not being able to contact the narcissist. You're going to go through the time of wanting to pick up your phone, wanting to call them, wanting to text them, and wondering like, wait, like I feel crazy. Like, why do I want to go back to someone who abused me? Why do I want to go back to someone who hurt me? Like, all those things are going to go through your mind. It's going to get harder. Okay. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And part of that is focusing on the truth, focusing on your growth, and focusing on your worth. So make sure, get into therapy, get into coaching, like whatever you need to do, focus on you, because you need to make sure that you get to a place where you're working on growing and changing yourself, because that's something that you can do that the narcissist can't, because they won't realize where they are and they won't acknowledge it. Do you work hard every day to try and break those traits? Yes, absolutely. Some days are better than others. Some weeks are better than others. Give you an idea. Like 2 weeks ago, is either a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I don't know. They're all blending right together. It was a really rough week, and it wasn't a rough week as far as like I was like lashing out at people or yelling at people or things like that. It was just a rough week internally and like in my mind, and part of that I blame on this book, Psychopath Free, because I'm reading through it. I'm like, crap, like I didn't know that I did that. And then I'm like, wait a second, like I do that. Do I do that because I'm a narcissist? Do I do that because I'm manipulative? Do I do that? Like a lot of like self questions, a lot of like, not necessarily self doubt. I mean, yeah, no, self doubt, like self doubt of like, what is the thought behind what I'm actually doing? What is the thought about what I did then? What is the thought? Like, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. And I like sat in my therapist's office and she was like, honestly, I don't see how you're like sitting here right now and not like running out of the room. She said, because like it's really, really hard and difficult to sit in that balance of, monster versus person, and be able to sit there and be able to say, like, maybe like where I've been, maybe like what I've gone through, maybe like what I've done. There's an aspect, there's both. Like, I'm not fully monster. I'm not fully like empath. Like, I'm not fully like a person, monster person, whatever. I don't even know what the other side is, but she's like, maybe like the concept right now is you have to sit in the middle and you have to kind of figure it out. And I was like, crazy. It's been crazy. No, it was good. It was a really rough week. Honestly, I'll tell you this. Here's the one thing I'll say with this. Here's one of the biggest things I learned from that week, just in the past couple of days. Because I don't know if you've seen different stuff on social media, things like that. There's people coming out of the woodwork saying like how like they hate self-aware narcissists, that you shouldn't be listening to self-aware narcissists, all this kind of stuff, that I'm on here for supply, all this kind of stuff, whatever. Okay, but there's people on here, bunch of trolls, bunch of other stuff. It's whatever. And honestly, when the main reason I wanted to say this is because I got through that week, and that week was like really, really rough. It was really, really hard. I got through that week. And I finished talking to my therapist. Like, I'm going to my home and thinking like that. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, the stuff that I battle in my mind is way harder than any person I interact with on social media, or is way harder than everything else I go through. So like, excuse my French, but in one sense, like the demons that I battle in my head make all these trolls online just seem like little bitches. I mean, that's really what it is. Because when it comes down to it, like I battle stuff a lot more than someone trying to pop up and being like, oh, like don't listen to them. I'm like, listen to me or don't listen to me. Like, I don't really care. I'm here to help people. You can either come alongside and like I can help you or you cannot. Anyways, Brunski, it's good to see you, man. Glad to see you on here. But yeah, awesome. Where there's another comment I was gonna see. Got a bunch of people comments, bunch of comments. Sorry, I'm getting on little rampages. So I'm just gonna confess right now, like I'm probably gonna do an awful job responding to all these comments. Okay, but I want to try to be able to give you guys the most information I can, and whenever I jump on a question, I'm gonna try to answer it to the best of my ability. So, anyways, are there different levels of narcissists? Yes, absolutely. So a lot of times it's described as narcissism as being like on a scale of like you have someone on the low side that doesn't really have like hardly any narcissism or like very little bit. Like everybody has like a strain or a hint of it, I guess you could say. But there's like a little bit. And then as it progresses, you've got people with like narcissistic traits or narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic habits. Excuse me, whatever you want me to say. And then you get to like people who have like narcissism, like they definitely have the traits, or people that are diagnosed narcissists, things like that. And then as you keep going up the scale, kind of like how I picture it in my mind, how I've seen it explained a little bit, is then you keep going up the scale and you kind of step past like diagnosed narcissist and you get into sociopath. Then after you step into sociopath, you keep going a little bit more and you get into psychopath. Like that would be how I would describe like the scale in one sense. Hope that makes sense. But that gives you at least like a little bit of idea about that scale. Anyways, how do you explain a narcissist being with you for 2 years and get them to go to therapy, but then they block you and everything once you put your foot down? So that's just the aspect of like you're holding them accountable. You know, you're holding them accountable, and you're putting up boundaries, and a narcissist doesn't like that. So it's just simple as that. Like you said no. You said no to the toddler, and they were like, okay, I'm gonna take my toys and I'm gonna go home. Like that's really what it boils down to. And a narcissist doesn't like getting called out. They don't like, getting told no. They don't like, not being able to cross your boundaries. So as a result, they're like, fine, I'll just go do my own thing. Okay. So but putting up boundaries, putting your foot down in that aspect of putting up boundaries is very healthy. I advise everybody to have boundaries. I advise people to have boundaries in all walks of life with all types of people. They're not just for toxic people. Boundaries are for you. They're not for the narcissist. Let's see what we got. Is it possible for the narc to not be good at being a narcissist? My ex can't even keep his lies straight anymore, and he blatantly doesn't make sense. Yes, absolutely. No, I mean, some people are narcissists and they're like crappy at it, like super crappy at it, and especially in the idea as far as like lies. Okay, so let's see. So really good example. So person I was talking to, their husband, yeah, their husband, they come home and the truck is in the fence. So like not like pulled up to the fence, but the truck is like in the fence, like it ran into the fence. Okay, and walk inside and they're like, what's going on? Like what? Like no, well, what's going on? No, nothing. Okay, well, why is the truck in the fence? Like why is it pulled all the way into the fence? Like you ran into the fence. Like what's happened? Like, oh, like I didn't know, I didn't do that. Okay, like it just didn't get there by itself. Like, what actually happened? Know the response? The turkeys. The turkeys did it. So you're saying that the turkeys ran the truck into the fence? I don't know how it got in the fence. So how to get there? The turkeys did it. Like literally, like this, like I'm not making this up. This is like a true story. Like I know it sounds crazy, but this is like a true story. So like, yes, there's definitely like narcissists out there that can't lie worth beans, and then there's narcissists that can lie really, really good. So it's something to be careful, because they can be very big manipulators. They are very big manipulators. Sometimes they're crappy liars, but either way, they still manipulate. So, anyways, good question. Good question. What do we want? I begged him to block me. He finally did. Why did he? Will he eventually unblock? He might have blocked you because you begged him to block him to start off with. Otherwise, the other aspect is you can't expect a narcissist to block you when you're the one saying, please block me. You need to get the balls and block them yourself. Now, I'm not saying that to be mean, but I'm saying that to be real. If you're with somebody who's been abusive, if you're with someone who's a narcissist and they've never respected a single thing that you've had, that you've said, that you've asked for the entire relationship, why are they going to respect you at the very end when you say, hey, By the way, when you walk out the door, can you please block me? It doesn't work that way. Block them, ghost them, move on. There's some people that are on the platform and they look at my videos and they look at, me interacting maybe with my wife or putting up stuff about her or us doing like a live together, things like that. And they're like, wait a second, you're bringing hope to a lot of people. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like listen to what I say, look at what I say, and hear what I've said about all this. Okay. If you think your narcissist is changing, okay, if you think your narcissist is changing and you're wondering, is there hope? Let me ask you this. Is there honest vulnerability in the relationship and is there consistent change? If you don't see either one of those, leave. I say that in a lot of videos. I'm not on this platform to give hope. I'm on this platform to give you truth, to give you honesty, to give you vulnerability. Vulnerability is the hardest one to give on this platform in life, period. It's just hard. I think it's hard for everybody. I think it's even harder for a narcissist. But anyways, side notes. How to stop, good question, YouTube. How to stop rumination after narc abuse. I hope I pronounced that right. How to stop rumination after narc abuse. Okay, so one of the things that's happening after the narc abuse is the idea of that detox, the idea of you're pulling away, the idea of like thinking about all the good times, thinking about the connection, thinking about the times that were really good, thinking about how you worked well together, thinking about how you meshed, thinking about how the sex was great, all those different things. And all those things happen. They run through your mind over and over and over again. So it seems like that's the only thing you can think about. Okay. The problem is over a period of time, that is the only thing you think about because you only focus on the positive or the things that don't hurt or the things that aren't too hurtful to uncover. So part of the thing in going back and knowing, hey, I got out of a narcissistic abusive relationship means you also have to go back and you have to face the facts. You have to face the truth of what's going on to be able to say, hey, this is what happened. So that dinner that we were really connected, I forgot. It was followed by excessive rage in the car and we almost died. That weekend that we spent away that I thought was great was also the time that he was sexting 3 other women. That time that we were interacting and he was saying how much he wanted a future with me was also the time that he walked out 2 days later. Taking a look at the facts is so crucial to help stop the rumination over and over and over again, because otherwise it'll keep happening and you'll keep thinking of the positive things. That's very true. My narc ex-spouse that cheated on me with a girl in the same building, they have now followed me to my new apartment. That's crazy. Should I get a restraining order or would that be giving him attention? So restraining order would be if you feel unsafe. Like if you feel unsafe at all, like get it. Like if it's something that like you're like, wait a second, like something's going on, like I'm getting stalked, like there's possibility of different things going on here. Like if you feel unsafe, then get it. It's not necessarily a restraining order at that point. Doesn't matter if it gives them attention or not. Honestly, what it comes down to is restraining orders to keep you safe. That's the ultimate goal behind it. How do we deal with the anger and dealing with the trauma memories that come up? Gonna need a little bit more context with that. So I'm wondering, like, are you talking about the anger from the narcissist of like how do you deal when they're raging out, or how do you deal with the anger that you were in a narcissistic abusive relationship, or how do you deal with the anger of knowing like, hey, I was used or abused in that relationship? Throw that back in there, and I'll try to snag it so I can answer that for you. So mental escape for me. Yeah, put that in there, and I'll try to grab that for you. Why won't my narc stop talking to court, even though my narc stop taking me to court, even though he refuses to see his kid? So a lot of times they want to either ruin you, get revenge, or they want to be able to prove themselves right and be able to get whatever they want. So it might be like the idea of like, I want to look like a good dad, so I'm going to continue to fight for something, even though I don't care about it. Like a lot of times people are like asking, they're asking like, hey, does my narcissist like care about my kids and all this kind of stuff? Well, in reality, like when they're fighting over custody for the kids, it's not about the kids. It's never about them. It's about their image and it's about control of the situation. Anger, feelings of abuse. Thank you. Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense. So how do you deal with the anger after the abuse? How do you deal with the anger the feelings of abuse. So there's a couple things. Like one, a lot of times I feel like people hold themselves to a higher standard after they found out that they've been in an abusive relationship. And sometimes I have to pause people. I'm like, wait, give yourself some grace. Let's take a moment and let me ask you a couple questions. Okay. Right now in this moment, you're out of the narcissistic abusive relationship. It's like a year down the road. You still feel bad. You still feel like an idiot. You still feel stupid for being in that relationship for so long. Like, why did I put up with that? I can't believe that. Like, I'm so frustrated that I was in that relationship for so long. Like, I'm so stupid. Like, first thing you have to think is the idea of like, what are you saying? Like, the words that you're saying indicate and change your perception of who you are. So you have to be careful of that. The other thing is you're starting to hold yourself to a standard of something you didn't know. So a lot of times I ask people, like, hey, 2 years past when you're in that narcissistic abusive relationship, did you have the knowledge? And they're like, no, I didn't know anything about it. Like, I didn't know anything about it till just recently about narcissism. It's clicking now. I'm starting to understand everything about it. And I'm like, did you know all this information then? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay. Like, you got to sit with that for a minute and you got to take a step back and you have to realize, like, hey, I can't hold myself accountable 2 years ago to knowledge that I have now. A lot of people need to give themselves grace in that area. That might answer your question a little bit. I don't know if other people threw some other stuff in there, but hopefully that helps at least a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Are they stuck in the honeymoon phase to get that dopamine hit so they go from person to person quick? That's a good question. That's a good question. So I would say no, because it's not necessarily about the honeymoon phase. It's about that control aspect. But I do see where you're coming from of like a narcissist being like, oh, like I want everything to be perfect or I want to be so happy. So I'm going to keep jumping from people to people to kind of keep that perfection. Now there is the aspect underneath narcissism along the lines of like they are in search sometimes for one of those things. So sometimes it's the aspect of like ideal love, of like, how can I get ideal love? Is there ideal love out there? Like the perfect love in one sense. So there's that aspect as well. My now ex narc told me he never cared and was using me for my mind and body through my folders in the street. Yeah. In one sense, it's good in one sense that you got clarity like that because most people don't even get that clarity or even that type of closure. Like that's way more closure than most people even get. Prayer and relationship with Jesus truly allowed me to overcome so much and for myself. Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely agree. I wouldn't be here today and I wouldn't be on this journey if it didn't have God in it. I think all narcissists need therapy and need God to change personally. I only learned he was a narc after he discarded me about 44 years together. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy sometimes how long. And the thing is like it's just like the same idea of like why do people stay so long? It's because they don't get thrown in boiling water. You know, they get put in cold water and then the water slowly heats up to a place where it is unbearable. You know, that really is a big thing. So you love your toxic person, but how do you fix her? If they're not willing to see what's going on, if they're not willing to acknowledge the hurt, the pain, or the things that they're doing, if they're not willing to acknowledge that, there's nothing you can do. Because true change has to be from that person. You can't force another person to change. You can't manipulate them to change. You can't get them to be changing on any aspect. Like it has to come from them. If it doesn't come from them, it's not going to happen. Berensky, thanks for the shout out. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and say it real quick. So if anybody doesn't have, like, go on and download the NARC app. So it's NARC, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Can never get it out fully. Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. It's on there with a bunch of people, like-minded people who are in either those relationships or have gotten out and they're trying to work on their healing, growth, trying to track their no contact, record their truth, things like that is going on there. There's more stuff that's coming out. I'm just behind, to be honest, to be kind of 100%. Like, this is just where life is right now. We're just behind. We're trying to get caught up. So we've got some stuff coming up. Stronger Than Before is working on a course about guilt. We've got Abuse is Abuse, working on a course about boundaries. And we've got Stand Coaching that's working on a course coming out about just was it like vocabulary, like narcissistic vocabulary, like what are the different words, meanings, thoughts, and stuff behind it. So, but that is out there. So the Narc app, it's on Google Play and Apple Store. So feel free to download that and start to learn stuff. So there's more stuff coming to that. We're working on expanding that platform as well. So just there as a tool or a resource to be able to help. If you guys haven't already, so I've got YouTube channel as well. So we're on all the different platforms. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The longer videos are on YouTube, guys. So like the little tidbits, so the little moments that we throw out on the shorts, the reels, the TikTok messages and things like that. Those are expanded upon longer. And honestly, there's more chance on YouTube for me to get more vulnerable, with longer messages, with longer times that we're able to talk through and things like that. So, but yeah, for anybody's on, whoever wants to talk, feel free. I've got on my website, Raw Motivations, or there's a link on all the different sites as well for one-on-one coaching. You're not going to see a ton of availability over the next 2 weeks because it's full and because we're going out of town. But starting in May 10th on, we see a lot more availability opening up. So that's one exciting thing of getting that to where we're going with Raw Motivations full time, middle of May. So super excited about that. Super excited to be done with my logistics job right now that has me waking up at like 1:30 in the morning. But we're going to be rocking and rolling with just Raw Motivations, which I'm super excited about. Anyways, there's a group that you mentioned, just have a support group. So the Narc app does have like some support in there as far as like people can message in that group and all. I don't have like a super big support group or anything like that. I'm also not running a whole support group. Honestly, I don't have the time to be able to keep it up, and that's not because I'm trying to like put anybody down or not have that resource for people, but like right now I can't put something like that together with everything going on. But anyways, but yeah, it's called the Narc app. So you don't need the periods anymore, so you should just be able to search in NARC and be able to find it there. So anyways, any insight on the conflict avoidant Narc? His avoidance threw me off. He seemed so reasonable, but in hindsight was textbook. So a lot of times the conflict avoidant, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't have a ton of information on some of the technicalities, I guess you could say. But I would say with someone who's like avoiding it, a lot of times that's where they're referred to more as manipulation and more to the like subtle things. So like the subtle types of manipulation that could just be just straight out manipulation. That could be like different compliments of other people, like triangulation. It could be what's the other thing I was thinking of? Could be dog whistling. So that's one a lot of people haven't heard of. So dog whistling is the idea of like something that triggers you in private that's said in public that people aren't going to recognize as being a trigger. And then they wonder, why are you acting so weird? Well, like they just pissed you off because they said something really degrading, but no one else had an idea of what was actually going on. How can you tell if a covert narc is jealous of you? That is a good question. So there's an aspect that narcissists are jealous of other people, and they're also thinking people are jealous of them because it's all about them. So the fact of like if they're jealous of you or not, I don't know. To me, it's like who cares? Doesn't matter if they're jealous about you. It matters of how you're living your life and what's going on there. So, um, yeah, no, absolutely. If you ever want to talk to my wife, she does have some limited availability just with life and everything right now. But if you go to my website, Raw Motivations, there is a chance to be able to, there's a place on there to be able to book with her. If you want to talk, she's been talking to people just about her healing journey. I would say that's like the biggest aspect that she talks to different people who are contacting her of saying like, hey, this is things that helped me in my healing journey, like get better and work through it. Obviously, therapy, but like she's trying to help out people as well too. So if you're interested in talking to her, you can go to my website, rawmotivations.com, and you can contact her there. Anyways, do narcissists manipulate your therapist? A lot of times, yeah. A lot of times it can be like a high for a narcissist or a sociopath to get to a place where they're like manipulating another person. Even if that's a therapist. Ben, how do narcs react when you cut them off and things? So a lot of times it's like frustration or like even some spiral for a minute or two because like you're cutting off their control. They're cutting off their supply. You're cutting off like the aspect of like I want they want that control, and you just took that away from them. Like you just took that away. That's why a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to cut them off, and they're the ones that win. No, like they're winning by still controlling you. They're winning by still manipulating you. When you cut them off, you're the one that actually wins. um let's see what else you got. What happens if two narcissists get in a relationship with the other? It'll be super toxic, and no one's going to change, and it'll probably fall apart. Did you manipulate your wife into being financially dependent on you? I would say yes, during a period of time, for sure. That wasn't the case when she left me. Like she took a job in South Carolina whenever she left, and moved away without the intention of coming back. And it was then later down the road that she did come back, for different reasons. She came back because I was putting in the work and I was working on myself, not because I was asking her. I mean, we talked about it, so like I'd asked her to, but not that I was like begging to her or manipulating her back. It was more one of those things like I'm going to continue putting in the work, like whether you're back here or not. And she started to see that that work was indeed genuine, and I was working through all that. But yeah, no, that was an aspect of it as well. By going to therapy, does it help transfer the need to control others to learning to control you? That's a really good question. I haven't like thought of it that way or like phrased it that way in one sense. Um, hmm. I like the question. I'm just not sure how I would answer that. So, I guess in one sense that would be true. About the idea of controlling others, controlling the situation. Controlling the image to actually like. I guess I would say to regulating me, regulating my feelings, regulating my emotions, things like that, versus like letting them lead, versus letting them like take over or take control. So yeah, no, it's a good question. What was that? He was passive aggressive, cheated, grandiose, but never yelled, just stonewalled. Yes. Stonewalling, the silent treatment, like that is like one of the hardest ones, especially because the aspect of it makes the other person seem crazy. It makes the other person oftentimes react crazy. That's something that's really hard a lot of times. Is it possible to leave and don't ever come back? As far as like I assume you mean like the narcissists leave and don't ever come back. Like that is possible. I tell people like don't plan on it. But you make sure that when they leave that they can't come back. One of the popular questions that people oftentimes ask is they ask me, they're like, when do you know it's the last Hoover? When do you know it's the last time they're going to try to come back? And I say, when you make it the last time. When you make sure that there's no way for them to come back, when you make sure that you've ghosted them, that you've gone no contact, that you've blocked them, that there's no way for them to contact you at all, then you know it's the last Uber. Unless they show up at your door. If they show up at your door, you call the cops. You start down that road. Like it's frustrating, it's annoying, but yes, that's kind of how you have to go sometimes. How can I tell if it's genuine changes and not just a mass manipulation? Great question. So with that, I'm sure you've probably talked to that person, the narcissist, the ex, whoever it might be. I'm sure you've talked to them and you've given them ideas of what you want to see, how you want them to change. Well, the question is, how is it going to continue? So normally what I communicate to people is come up with six. I normally say six goals or boundaries. Goals/boundaries, six. Okay. You want to come up with six of those, write them down, keep them someplace safe. Don't let anybody ever see them, and tell the narcissist two. Don't communicate any more than two. The other four goals and boundaries you will take to your grave. You won't ever tell them ever. Because what happens is you give a narcissist a list and they'll perform to that list. I need to write a book. Like if you give a mouse a cookie, like if you give a narcissist a list, like what they'll do is they'll perform to that level. You say, hey, these are the 5 things I need from you to stay with you. Boom, boom, boom. Got those 5 things. Now I can abuse you and be like, hey, I'm doing those 5 things. So what's your problem? Why aren't you loving me? Because I checked the boxes on everything you wanted me to do. So that's why I say, give a narcissist a list with the idea of there's 2 goals, boundaries that you're going to set. And then you have to come up with the other 4. You have to come up with 6 total. You only communicate 2. You come up with 6 total. They have to be like smart boundaries. Okay. They have to be quantifiable. They have to be yes or no. They have to be time sensitive, like 1 through 5, like 5 months, 2 months, 1 month, 1 week, whatever it might be. They have to be quantifiable and they have to be set in a way so that you know, hey, if this doesn't happen by this certain time, then I'm leaving. If this doesn't happen by this certain time, then I'm changing, whatever it might be. But you have to come up with those and only give them a partial amount so they can't keep manipulating you to think that they're changing when they're actually not. Because the difference is, if they're going to perform to that list, that's great. They'll perform that list and they'll do the first 2. So life might get better for a week or 2 or a month. But how you know if there's real change is when they start knocking off the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and you never told them. That's the difference. Is you want to see them change based on them, not based on you, and not based on the relationship, not based on anything else. So in one sense, like the idea, if you take the relationship off the table, be like, hey, I will never be with you. You work on yourself. If you don't see change, wasn't real. Really good question. Really good question. If you give a narcissist a list, yeah, I guess I need to put that in a book and get someone to like draw it out. If you give a narcissist a list, they'll perform it while they can. Make it like rhyme and everything. Anyways, where are we? I need to put on my glasses. My contacts are like going wonky. Where are we at? TikTok, y'all are going crazy talking to each other. Instagram's had like the major questions today, and then YouTube's got like the long ones. I'm struggling to read some of them. Why do they treat everyone else better, but not you, the spouse? Really good question. They got to keep up their image. They got to keep up their image to everyone else. Everyone else matters more than the person near them, because the person near them, they feel they've already got trapped. So why does it matter? Really, that's all they're worried about, is just their image to everybody else. A lot of times it's like, you're mine. You're on the shelf. You're mine. I got you. I take you down. I polish you, put you back on the shelf, and then go out and do whatever I want. It's that idea of control, the idea of transactions. I don't have a ton of good information on what's the difference between a sociopath and a narcissist. Kind of the differentiation in my mind is a sociopath is a little bit more scripted out and like intentional about what they're doing, like planning something out. And they also derive pleasure from your pain. Those would be the 2 things that I would put out there. I'm not an expert on that, so what you get is just my opinion, best that I can. Sorry, I was trying to catch up on some of these here. I'm dealing with a high conflict custody situation when the narc is your ex's significant other. My ex has been convinced that her version of the history is real. He has become unrecognizable. So I would say, like, one of the things is, like, whenever you get into like the court system, there's a couple people on there's what's the judge guy? I forget his name. The one guy on TikTok that I would suggest for you to watch, because he's got a lot of good stuff as far as like court stuff. But one of the things is like making sure that they're going to go in, they're going to try to rattle you, they're going to try to break you, they're going to try to get you to react. Yeah, Judge Anthony. Yeah, thanks guys. So go watch some Judge Anthony, because he's got some really good stuff just on the court aspect. But they're going to try to get you to react. And so being able to go in and be like, that's not true. This is what actually happened. Being able to have evidence of that, making sure to like mark it down, write it down, like that's really huge. But check out that creator, Judge Anthony. He's got some really good stuff in that regard. Why do they accuse you of what it is that they're actually doing? All right, so this is the idea of like projection. So like I feel mad, so I'm gonna be like, why are you mad? Like I'm cheating, so I'm like, you're probably cheating on me. Okay, there's a lot of different things at play here. So this idea of just basic projection. So I'm putting my feelings, my emotion, my thoughts on you so that you have to deal with them, so that I don't have to deal with them. So I don't have to acknowledge that I have them. And then I can come at you for like, why are you that way? Like, what's going on? Okay, so it's the idea of just putting that plain projection. Crap, I'm like losing my train of thought. And where's the other one? I missed like the other part of the question that I was thinking of, and this is not. Why do they accuse you of what you're actually doing? So the other aspect, like I said, was like cheating. Of like you're cheating on me when they're actually the one cheating. So there's like a big aspect of that where they'll be doing that for two reasons. One is to get the attention off of them and back on you, because it takes you a lot longer to defend yourself on nothing than actually acknowledge like, hey, something is going on sketchy underneath the surface, but I don't have time to be able to see what's actually happening. I don't have a time to actually see that this person is cheating on me because I'm spending so much time defending myself that I'm not cheating when I'm not cheating at all. Like it's very like confusing. Then there's also the aspect of seeing how you're going to react by adding like cheating into the picture by any means. Okay. So narcissists oftentimes will test the waters in a lot of different things to be able to see what's actually happening. Who's saying that? Oh, where are you? I didn't see. What did you say? Where is my? No, that's awesome. Kayla is in the. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I don't get distracted. And Kayla's in the Instagram live, and she just said, "Where are my Amazon packages?" They are on the couch. Sorry. They're on the couch right now. They're underneath the blanket at the end of the couch. I hid them underneath the blanket so that Sophia wouldn't try to mess with them and get distracted when we're trying to put her to night to bedtime. People are like in the chat being like, answer Kayla. I'm like, Kayla's never on my live. On the couch. What? Yeah, they are. They're underneath that blanket. What? I just told you. That's mad funny. Thank you for someone. Someone was like, answer your wife, and I'm like, I did not even see her in the chat. Sorry, that's absolutely hilarious. So, oh, when you know we're online, when my wife's like, where are my packages? Thanks guys. I appreciate the assist. So yeah, I put them on the couch. I put them on the couch, and hey, thanks for the hat. Someone give me a hat. That's cool. I've got my hat. Can I see my hat? There's my hat. Yeah, I put him on the couch because a lot of times when Sophia sees a package, she's like, "Oh, I got a package," and she wants to open it. And so like she saw a package the other day, and she was like, she like got so distracted about it, and so we got packages, and so I hid them on the couch, threw a blanket over them, so whenever she was getting ready to go to bed, she didn't get all distracted and everything. So I was like, I'll put them there. But anyways. So the other day, so like random non-narcissistic content. Okay, just forewarning. So the other day, so Sophia absolutely loves Paw Patrol. Like it's one of the things that she absolutely loves. Like she has all of them, and I'm a sucker because I keep like buying more for her. I'm like, oh, like there's this one and there's this one. But anyway, she has a bunch of the Paw Patrol, but it's cool because I've gotten her like ones, and I finally got her the other one, the rider one on the four-wheeler, and I had it, and she was inside. I'm in the garage. She was inside, and I grabbed it because I have it like up here in one of the Amazon boxes, and I took it and I threw it in like a smaller Amazon box, and I taped it up really quick. I opened up the garage and I ran around the front door and I like stuck it by the front door and like knocked on the front door. The dogs start barking and everything. I run back inside and I'm like, Sophia, you got a package. And like we walked outside, and like literally, I mean, she's the cutest thing ever. She's like 2.5. We like opened the door. She's like, "Oh, I got a package!" And it was hilarious. And so I was like, "You did?" And I was like, "Let's open it up." So we brought it in and opened it up, and she like absolutely freaked out. She was like, "Mom, I got a package!" All this kind of stuff, and it's got like this little Paw Patrol figurine inside and everything. But it was super cool. Anyways, hello. That was funny. That's never happened before in my life. Some people are like, "Do your wife know you do these?" Like yeah, like sometimes she pops in my life. She'll like pop in and out, but I like never see her. I never see her like come in or out. She'll just be like, "Oh, I heard you say this in your life." I'm like, "Oh," it's kind of funny. But anyways, thanks guys for still around. Thank you so much. Anyways, let's see where we at. Where are we at? So a narcissist can only change if they're willing to acknowledge who they be honest about the abuse that they've done. Like if they're not willing to acknowledge anything, if they're not willing to actually say, "Hey, this is what's going on," it's never going to happen. A lot of times they don't. Majority of times, 99.99% of the time, they don't acknowledge. But anyways, what was the song I posted a couple days ago? Gosh, I have no clue. Um, the most recent one that I know that I posted was by Nathan Wagner. Um, really good song. I just like it. It just sounds really cool. It's really good. All right. Where are we at? Let's roll. Let's roll. All right. Similar trauma to learn to heal. Well, part of it is like the defense mechanisms that are put in like with the narcissist. So like they're getting to the place where the narcissist is developed different than the empaths. Like how they're connecting, how they're interacting, how they're growing has been all different along their course of development. So they don't have the emotional capacity or the emotional growth, the emotional maturity that other people had to grow or had to understand. So a lot of times they didn't develop that emotional safety along the way. What made you make a change in yourself? A lot of things. Really good question. First off, check out my video on YouTube called Self-Aware Narcissist that talks about a lot of different things. Probably the three, four biggest things was one, getting involved with a girl with BPD and narcissistic traits. Two is my relationship with God. Three, with another person that helped reparent some of my emotions. And four was going through the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. Absolutely incredible. I'm trying to get more and more people. I don't get a commission off of it. I don't really care. But more and more people need to go through the Wake Up Warrior Challenge, period. Healthy, toxic, I don't care. It's amazing. It helps a lot of people. I don't remember what song. I guess you're talking some song on Instagram. If it's still up there, I can tell you. You just have to take a look at it. Why will they escalate a conversation to fight and end with raging on you? A lot of times they don't want to have that accountability. So a lot of times you're fighting a losing battle. They'll fight something that they already know that they're wrong about. They'll already fight something that they know they have to be able to avoid. They have to be able to avoid that accountability. But there's the aspect of like the cycle. And I've talked about the cycle here before with like a bunch of different people. And like the cycle, I don't think I have it written down anywhere, but like the cycle is like you have the idea of where the narcissist, where you're living your life and everything is going along like normal per se, like just normal abuse. Someone says normal, and then you get to a place where there's a trigger, and that trigger starts a downward trend. Excuse me, starts a downward cycle as soon as that trigger happens. So they get caught on something, they called out something, an argument starts, whatever it might be. As soon as that trigger happens, it starts to go down. One of the first things you hit is the idea of shame, where the narcissist starts to feel shame of, hey, something I did caused this trigger, it caused an argument, it caused something that's happening. That shame, they can't sit in it, they can't last in it because that shame is anti-narcissistic. Have to be able to avoid that as fast as possible. So that shame goes down to the idea of guilt. Now I have guilt. I have guilt about what I just did. I have guilt about the shame that I'm feeling. Cannot deal with either one of those. We have to get away from it as quick as possible. So like shame and guilt, like a lot of times, like I'm talking like we're talking like seconds. We're talking like milliseconds. Like it's not like, oh, I have shame for like an hour. Like no, it's like shame. Yep, moving on. Like guilt, moving on. Okay. Then they get to the place of like blame. What do I need to do? I need to blame the other person. It's your fault. It's your fault you looked through my phone. If you hadn't looked through my phone, you wouldn't be upset right now. If you hadn't found out that I was cheating, you wouldn't be upset right now. Like there's a whole big aspect about that. Then that doesn't work because you're still sitting on the couch, frustrated at me, blaming me, crying me, whatever it might be. So then I get to the place of now it is there's no train of thought, raging. Use that idea of like anger and rage of like like sometimes it's even an aspect of like they just have to get out of it as fast as possible. They can't take your emotions, they don't connect the same way, they can't relate to what you're going through, and they're frustrated and pissed off that your crying is inconveniencing them in that moment. So it's like, how do I get away from it as fast as possible? Stop crying, all this kind of stuff. So like I'm not trying to trigger people, but it's just like that's the idea of like, hey, like stop doing this, stop doing this. Do you really think that's helping? Like all this kind of thing. And what it does is just produces more tears, it produces more crying, it produces more frustration, and all that does is it takes us right back up, starts a brand new trigger, starts a new cycle, new shame cycle, over and over and over again. But yeah, no, that's a big one, is going back and forth like over and over again. Why do narcissists act like nothing ever happened? Like pretend everything is fine when it's not? That's a really good question. And a lot of times they do that. They'll walk away and they'll come back and they'll act like nothing ever happened. They'll be back 15 minutes later, and that raging argument that you just had with them is replaced with, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" It happens so much because they don't want to live in the present. They don't want to live in, I mean, sorry, they don't want to live in the past. They want to live in the present. They don't want to deal with the stuff that they did. They don't want to deal with the fact that they just caused you to cry. They just caused you upset. Like they just caused all this type of trauma and everything. But what they're doing is like they have to be able to avoid it. Like, hey, we're going forward. Don't deal with the past. Don't worry about this. Like, that doesn't matter, because if we can move past the past quickly, then that's the idea of avoiding accountability. If I can avoid accountability, if I can say, hey, this isn't happening, like we're moving on, all this kind of stuff, it keeps that kind of forward momentum. We can add in future faking, we can add in all this other stuff. So that's really one thing to be able to think through, is that aspect of, let's try to move past it as quick as possible. If you're on TikTok, there's a video that was just released, I want to say the other day. Instagram, it's either coming today or tomorrow, along the lines of that. It's one of the videos that I did a while back, kind of like a repost, but it's the idea of like, hey, like they'll come back and they'll act like nothing ever happened, like the rage never happened. And it's like, how do I move past it as quick as possible? Like, hey, what's for dinner? What do you want to eat? Do you not just remember you were just like yelling at me and cussing at me? Well, yeah, but I mean, that was in the past. Like, we already moved past. Like, they'll try to move past as quick as possible. Why do you think psychopaths get a high from controlling and abusing? Definitely on the psychopaths, they get a high from that. For the narcs, there is a high from that, but it's linked a lot of times to their image, and it's linked a lot of times to controlling what people see, and oftentimes that means they have to control the other people. So it's not always the aspect of like I get a high in controlling the other people. It's the idea of being in control, period. So it's the idea of like, if I'm in control of the situation, if I'm in control of other people, there's an aspect that it's self-fulfilling, because it fulfills my need and desire to be wanted, loved, desired, and what is it, like adored, respected, worshipped, like the God complex kind of an idea. That's the aspect there of like wanting to be in control over everything. Narcissists want to be in control. They want to be in control of their image. That's like first and foremost, is they're most infatuated with controlling their image. And oftentimes controlling their image comes out in the version of complete and utter chaos. And people are like, why would a narcissist like that? Like, that seems crazy. Like, don't they get frustrated with that? Don't they get tired of it? Yeah, they do. But the thing is, it's a lot easier to stand in the middle of a tornado while chaos is ripping around everyone else and think that you're the right person, and think it's calm in here, because in their mind they're living in that reality. It's hot in my garage, y'all. Anyways, do they always come back? No, they don't always come back, but plan on it. Work on yourself to make sure if they do, you can handle that. Um, Said he would get most violent when I look through his phone. Yeah, probably. That idea of like accountability and like understanding like you were going to find something. Why do narcissists hold grudges over inconsequential things for a long time? A lot of times they don't have a good reason to have a grudge. So they'll try to find something small. So they have a reason to hate you. So they have a reason to despise you. So they have a reason to be able to throw something back in your face. If they can throw something back in your face, if they can throw something back in your face, then it will get you distracted from what's actually going on. How can we help them think normal? Get them into therapy. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Okay. So you have to remember, like, you can't force them to do anything. Problem is, if you get to the place where you start like trying to educate them or trying to help them, a lot of times they'll end up abusing you more, because they're saying like, wow, I'm getting all this attention. Good question. Social media does not give me the same kind of control or supply. It's encouraging and it's fulfilling to work with people who are survival victims, who are getting out of narcissistic relationships and trying to help them grow and change. But my supply has always been like an actual physical person in my life that I was using in a cheating relationship with my wife. And I just did I just did a video on this on YouTube just a couple days ago. That came out called Multiple Supply, and if you watch it, you'll see I actually have like illustrated. There's like three glasses. I got that idea from an awesome person I've done coaching with, but like gave the idea of there's like three glasses and me pouring water in each glass and talking about multiple supply and putting the water into one, choosing that I'm going to put all my effort into one person versus multiple supply. Like my therapist asked me, it was like I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago or whatever. And she was like, when's the last time you remember not having supply? When's the last time you remembered not being in this cycle? And I was like, I can't. It's like, I don't remember. And so she was like, you have to remember, like right now, when you're sitting, like whenever we were in that therapy, she's like, right now, when you're sitting here, you have to remember, like, this is a huge win at this moment in time because you're how many days? And I was like, whatever, it was like 270 days of being no contact and of not having another supply. And she's like, you have to really take a look at that and be like, hey, like that is a win and that is on the road to change. So it's encouraging. So wait, you identify as yourself a narcissist? Yes, I'm a self-aware narcissist. I'm on this platform to bring about awareness, growth, healing, and change. It is a YouTube video, so it's called the Narcissist Multiple Supplies. But yes, it is on YouTube. So check that out sometime. I think that's what it's called. Something like that. If not, just keep watching. I'm just kidding. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's multiple supplies. It was released within the past 4 days. So as long as you see one of those. My ex-narc was ordered anger management therapy sessions, but blamed me for everything. Yep, a great victim mindset there. Do all narcissists cheat, or can they just be self-absorbed? Okay, and yes, I say all narcissists cheat because they're going to find a way to cheat on some level. You know, whether it's with another person, whether it's emotional cheating, whether it's just putting someone else above you, as far as like you don't even matter in the relationship at all. So like they're cheating on you with themselves. You know, that idea of like being so self-absorbed that they don't have time for you, they don't have time for their family. Like it's still in one there's a concept of it's still in one sense is cheating on you. They're not giving you that attention, that love, or that respect. I know it's kind of taking it as a stretch, but that's why I normally say like narcissists, all of them cheat. He's unable to take accountability for his own actions, therefore he's not changing. Yeah, absolutely. And apologies without change is manipulation. Same exact kind of thing. They avoid accountability at all costs. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, no, if you want to talk sometime, would love to be able to talk sometime. So you can go to my website, rawmotivationscom. You can grab a one-on-one there. I have one-on-ones that I do every single day. The schedule gets a little dicey over the next like 2 weeks or so, just because one, I'm booked out, and then two, we'll be going out of town for 2 weeks. But then after that, we'll be back in. We'll be doing it full time because I'll be going full time with Raw Motivation. So super excited about that. So after May 10th, you'll see the schedule start to open up a lot more, which would be really cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, someone else asked that question. Hopefully that answered all the questions. But yeah, look at the website, rawmotivations.com. It's got a bunch of different options on there. Bunch of different like sessions, coaching packages, different things like that. So feel free to check that out. 3 weeks out, I am still like 3 weeks out. I've got a couple sessions opened up the first week of May. They're a little early though right now, and that's all I have currently available until we get to like May 10th. Honestly, just everything is booked up like crazy. I was not expecting it to book up as much as what it did. Once we get past May 10th, then you're going to start seeing my schedule open up a lot more because I'll just have one job and that'll be this. So super excited about that. Super excited to not have to balance two for sure. But yeah. Anyways, good question. Why do narcissists choose us to mess with? That's a good question because there's a lot of thoughts out there of why or how they select their victims or things like that. The thing that I want to like point out is a lot of times the narcissist is not looking for someone who's this amazing person, is not looking for whatever. What they're looking for is either going to be someone that's going to increase their social or their image status, or they're looking for someone who has low boundaries that they can manipulate to do what they want. So it's really about like that control aspect of like being in control of their image, of like, what can I do that's going to make my image look better? Or what can I do that's going to have someone that's going to pump up my image? Okay. That's like the idea there. So oftentimes, like some people are like, I feel like I always attract the narcissist. Like I keep getting with other narcissists. Like I don't understand like what's going on. Well, part of that is you need to work on educating yourself. You need to work on learning about narcissism, but you also need to work on setting boundaries. A lot of times people that I talk to that they go back not just to one narcissist, but they go to like narcissist to another one, to another one, to another one. They haven't set solid boundaries. They haven't set solid boundaries that say, hey, I'm not going to put up with this. So that's something you have to like really think of. Like, what boundaries do you have set? Can we talk about boundaries for a second? Can we talk about boundaries? Okay, so boundaries, if you guys haven't heard this before, boundaries without a consequence is just a speed bump for a narcissist. Okay, boundaries have to have consequences. If they don't have consequences, then your boundaries are worthless. Your boundaries mean nothing if they don't actually have something that follows it up. If it doesn't actually have something of like, hey, if you do this, then this is going to happen. And then if you don't do that follow through, your boundary is worthless. All it is a big blinking sign that says, hey, do this more. Do this more. That's all it is. And then boundaries, the other thing about boundaries is boundaries are not for the narcissist. Boundaries are not for the toxic person. Boundaries are not for the sociopath. Okay? Boundaries are for you. Because a boundary is a line in the sand, it is a limit. It is something you say, I will not tolerate this farther in my life. A boundary is you deciding what level that you're going to keep dealing with this type of shit. So with those boundaries, be really careful to understand that it's not about control. It's not about manipulating another person. It's not about any of that. But the boundary that you set, it's all about your protection, your growth, and your focus. And so I talk to people about establishing boundaries in those trauma bonds, getting out of those trauma bonds. But I talk to people about like, what boundaries do you need moving forward in life? What boundaries do you need that's going to help you grow to be the person you were meant to be? Not with a narcissist, but with healthy people. What boundaries you're going to have that say, hey, does that fit into my vision? Does that fit into my goals? Does that fit into the person that I want to become? If it doesn't, maybe that's a boundary that you need to set, that you need to have. Really good questions. You guys are asking a lot of really good questions. And my apologies because I know I'm not getting all the questions. Okay. Are you able to spot a narcissist pretty easily now when you interact with someone new? To a degree, yes. To a degree, yes. I'm not this amazing narc hunter or someone that can spot them. What I will tell you is with one-on-ones, I do one-on-ones with people that are victims of abuse. That's like 93% of all my clients. The other 5% are people that are narcissists, and then there's a small percentage as well where I'm actually seeing like couples. And so there's a couple things with that is like, I normally advise like if you're with a narcissist, don't go to couples counseling. Okay, I'm not a counselor, so it doesn't matter. Don't go to couples counseling because you're just going to use that to manipulate. I prefer at this point, if I'm going to talk to both, I prefer if I'm going to talk to the empath and the narcissist, I prefer to talk to them both at the same time on the screen at once, at least one time. Because then in that moment, I can see it happen in real time. Like I can see the eye roll. I can see the smirk. I can see the frustration of like, here we go again. Like, here's another thing they're going to bring up. Like I can see them actively doing it in front of each other. And so like, that's like a big aspect that like I do that with couples currently because it's a lot easier. A lot of times I can see it, but you have a really hard aspect of a narcissist in any type of situation can be a really great manipulator when it's just one-on-one. When you put them in those scenarios, a lot of times you can see through some of that some. Jennifer K, I hope you're feeling better. Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, I look forward to talking more. Definitely can spot one now. I've educated myself, learned my father was one, and my mother was an empath. Yeah. And the more you educate, the easier it is to see. Like if you haven't seen some of Lee's videos with like the red flags, like some of those are like really hilarious, but it's really true. The more you understand, the more you see those red flags waving. He needs to sell those as merch. I need some red flags up here to wave. Do you articulate boundaries different with healthy people versus toxic people? No, because the boundaries again are for you. Whether you're dealing with a healthy person or a toxic person, they're really the same. You might articulate them with a different style, maybe, but I mean, ultimately, like it's going to be really like the same. You could use the same boundary of like, hey, if you yell at me, I'm going to stop this conversation. Like that's one that's like obvious in one sense. But it could be like, hey, like I'm not willing to do this, or like, hey, this doesn't align with my vision and values, my vision and goals. Maybe that's for the healthy person, maybe that's for the narcissist. Like they're really going to be like interchangeable because you're not making them based on toxicity. You're making them based on you. You're making them based on your goals. But yeah, they're good questions. Good questions, everybody. Is it common for narcissists to have an alcohol problem? It's common for narcissists to have an addiction problem, period. Period. So it's common for that because it's a big aspect of sedation. They want to be able to sedate the things that are happening. They want to be able to sedate the things that are popping up. They want to be able to sedate the idea that they might be wrong. It's a big aspect of it. Sedation is huge when it comes to narcissism. It's crazy. I see him everywhere now. Yeah. Exonarch vents to his new friends, but never did with me. Vents to his new friends, but never did with me. Probably because his ex friend, his new friends, or his friends that he had when he was with you, were the ones that you were venting on about you, trying to build up people that would support him whenever he decided to leave or you kick him out. Why did they ghost you once you bring up what they did and it hurt you? Typically because that's the idea of you're bringing in accountability. They don't do accountability. That's in the past. We have to move past it. If we can't move past it, I'm going to move. Do I behave differently now that you become aware? Yes. Otherwise, I would not be on this platform. But yeah, it's a constant battle, constant change for sure. But yeah, no, it is. There is aspects of having to behave different. There is aspects of having to think different. There is aspects of having to rewire my mind and how I'm interacting, how I'm working through stuff, how I'm dealing with different people. Absolutely. Hello, hello. See more people join. Why they want you to be the mother of their child, but be out there trying to get other girls' attention, giving everyone else attention but you. I don't think there's many narcissists. I'm going to say this tongue in cheek or the nicest way I can. I don't think there's many narcissists out there that really care about having kids, but they do care about controlling you. And if they have a kid with you, they know that you're locked in. At least for the next 18 years, you're going to be stuck communicating with them to some level. I still say go no contact. There's ways to do it. But I don't think most narcissists care about having kids. Got real in here. Narcissists, why are narcissists so jealous of your friends? Sometimes they're jealous of your friends because you have a connection with them that they can't have. Sometimes they're not jealous of your friends, they're just portraying that to try to put a wedge in between you and your friends and to slowly isolate you. A lot of times people are like, I'm too good for that. There's no way they would isolate me. Like if a narcissist said like, hey, you can't have those friends, stuff like that, I'd be like, heck no. Like I know my worth. I know the friends I can have. That's what most people say. But then they get on the other side of the relationship and they realize I was all alone and they had me alienated from my friends, from my family, from my coworkers, from everybody that cared about me, because you have to be able to alienate those people out of the other person's life so that they can't tell you the truth. So they can't say, hey, do you see how he's talking to you? That's abusive. Do you see how she's manipulating you? That's abusive. And so the narcissist will work to be able to protect that image, to be able to protect that control, and be able to get those people out of their life. And it's not going to be as easy as like, hey, you can't see this person anymore. Sometimes they'll do that. But sometimes they'll be like, hey, did you hear what so and so said about you? I don't think they like you. Like, or they build a wedge. They show you fake texts. Like literally, like there's no end to like what they can do to be able to confuse and to manipulate. Like fake texts. iPhones, for instance, fake text. Take your iPhone, put your own phone number in there, text yourself. Text yourself a whole conversation. You'll get the text twice. You go back through, you delete the ones that you don't need. Then you change the name, the contact name. Then you hold it up. You've got a text stream of something that just happened, real life event from real people. Real people. Stuff can be manipulated. People can be gaslit. Why don't they understand that they can be themselves but choose not to? That's that fear of vulnerability, that fear of shame. Hmm. Absolutely. Y'all have had some like really, really good questions. I'm sorry, I'm not getting all of them, but we're trying the best we can. Would they go after your friends, sleep with them? Absolutely. I don't think all narcissists would. I think there's an aspect some people with BPD would. Before anybody on here with BPD crucifies me, that's also coming from a person that I talked to the other day that's diagnosed with BPD. And that was her response. When she got that way, she was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to sleep with his friends, make him pay. Did they always come back? Let's just say yes. Let's say they always come back. That way you always have a plan, that you always have stuff in place so that they can't come back. That really is what it comes down to, is you never know. Whenever I did my live the other night with Lee, he said the longest Hoover that he did was 6 years. 6 years, and then he tried to come back in that person's life, and he did it, get calculated and planned. So like it's a lot better just to say like, hey, they come back. Like maybe we should just say that on the platforms, like, hey, narcissists come back. The problem is when we start saying that too much, then people are like, wait a second, did they not care about me because they didn't try to come back? It's the wrong question. It's the wrong way to ask the question. Some people are like, my narcissist didn't Hoover, so that means they didn't care. Another thing you need to understand is they didn't care. Period. And the other aspect is Hoover does not equal care. When someone says like they didn't Hoover me, that must mean that they didn't care about me. Like I must not have been that big to them. I must not have been that good to them if they didn't take the time to actually Hoover me back. If they didn't take the time to actually try. It's not about that. It's the wrong question. Because when it comes down to it, Hoover does not equal care. Hoover is opening up the door to more manipulation, to more abuse, to more control, to more punishment, whatever it is. A Hoover is just getting back into your life to control you. Hoover never means care. Why don't they care about their kids? They're so innocent. In your question right there, why don't they care about their kids? They're so innocent. That implies that because they're innocent, someone should care. From the narcissist perspective, the logic like that. If your kids are innocent, that doesn't invoke the reason that a narcissist should care. Because a narcissist doesn't care about the other person. They care about their image. They care about the control of the situation. My ex-narc doesn't give two craps if it kills me. He doesn't ask about them or want to pay nothing. If you're with a narcissist and you go through the divorce, you leave, and they say, hey, they're going to pay the child support, anything like that. Never go through it unless they're going to get it like in writing in the court system. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Like, have you guys seen like on Netflix, the Tinder swindler, classic like narcissist? Like literally, there's people out there that the narcissist owes them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. People on these platforms. There's people here that the narcissist owes them anywhere from $500 to $100,000, and you won't get it back. That's why if you're going through a divorce or anything like that with all child support stuff, like don't make an easy settlement saying you'll figure it out afterwards, because it will not happen. Even going through the court system, there's no guarantee that you're even going to get them to pay. So I've got like little like soapboxes I'm jumping on. No contact is key. Yes. No contact. Like sometimes people struggle with the no contact idea. I say, hey, you need to go no contact. And they're like, I went no contact, but then they contacted me. And I'm like, how did they contact you? Like if you go no contact, they can't contact you. So I say, go no contact, ghost, block, change your number. There's so many people that get stuck getting frustrated. Like they keep contacting me, they keep texting me, they keep emailing me, they keep all this kind of stuff. Change it. Really, in reality, like how much is going to burn by you changing your phone number? There's probably 5% of people on the platform that can't change the number because it's tied to a certain business in a certain aspect. It might take some time, but if you wanted to change it, you could. No contact for the narcissist feels like they've lost complete control. Sometimes it'll be an aspect of spiral, sometimes it'll be an aspect of got to change the story, got to change it to be the victim. I'm finally filing relief of abuse next week. Take a lot of therapy to even do that. 4 months. So that's my experience. So that was responses up and absolutely. Yeah, a really, really good question. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on a couple here. I messed up and tried to convince him to get help, and he reversed it and called me. A lot of times when the narcissist will call you the narcissist, it's not beneficial to tell them what we think they are, to tell them what's going on, because otherwise they will use that information against you. They'll start to do their research, and then in the middle of an argument, they'll be like, I think you're gaslighting me right now, when they're the ones that just gaslighted you. So it's something that's like really careful. Really, you have to be really careful about not just coming out and calling them a narcissist unless they're actually willing to work on themselves, because otherwise they're going to use it back to manipulate you. They're going to use it back almost every single time. Jennifer, you said it's so hard to go no contact because you want to know if they think about you. If you go no contact, you'll never truly know. You want to go no. You want to stay in contact because you're worried if they still think about you. Okay, I see that. I understand that. How do they demonstrate care? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they think about you or not. They can think about you and obsess of you, or they can think of you and think like, oh my gosh, I have so much love for this person. Okay, or how they demonstrate love. Like on a day-to-day basis, how do they show they're not lying to me? They show care to me because they're not gaslighting me. They love me because of how they're treating me. If they don't demonstrate care, if they don't demonstrate love, it doesn't matter what they think about you. That's coming from a broken person that just wants to control and manipulate. Did you ever regret losing an ex when they looked better and happier than before? No. I regretted losing an ex because of the aspect that I had control and I had supply. Not because they looked better or they got happier. At that point, I didn't care. I was the victim. Why did you turn all the things I wanted and left before the next woman? Because he learned from you and is applying it to the next one to see if it lasts a little bit longer, but there's no change and they're not their soulmate. Mine is a tick. He picks his thumbs. Cool. I bite my fingernails sometimes. Awesome habit. Anyways, most narcissists know they are narc. They just enjoy putting people in pain. I definitely think there's an aspect of sociopaths that enjoy putting in people in pain. I think there's an aspect that a lot of narcissists know that the stuff that they're doing is either right or wrong, which is why they hide it. I don't always think that they know necessarily that they are a narcissist. Some don't have a clue about it. But I think they know that something's off, that something's weird. Sometimes Lee described it the other day like really well. It's like someone else is driving this ship. It's like you know something's going on, but you can't put your finger on it, and you're not sure how to fix it. I started identifying the cycles. I started seeing the cycles, and mindless cycles happen over and over again. And the conclusion I came to in an unhealthy state, I must be cursed. Literally, I just must be cursed. Like I'm just doomed to have this cycle in my life for the rest of my life, and it's just going to happen every 6 months, every year, every 2 years. It's just going to happen. There's an aspect that narcissists know they're weird. They know something's off, but they don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to change. Didn't know if it's more of anxiety taking narcs. No, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's anxiety taking narcs. There's some that have anxiety. You can't really like peg all of them having anxiety or something like that. So trying to hoover you in some crazy way. Yeah, a lot of times they do. He would tell me, I can't see that one. He would tell me to be honest with him, and when I would, he would get mad and stop answering me. Yeah, there's like an aspect of like, I want you to be honest with me. Tell me what you're actually thinking. And then you tell him what you're thinking, and he's like, screw you, because at that point, like you're telling him like truth. You're telling him like honesty of like this is what's actually going on. Like you hurt me when you said this. Like you're manipulating me when you do this. And okay, well that's too much accountability. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave, or I'm gonna ghost you, or I'm gonna stonewall you, or anything like that, because like I can't handle the truth. Let's talk about honesty for the narcissist, because I love this aspect, because a lot of people don't realize it. Like if a narcissist is going to be honest with you, he's going to communicate the truth. Okay, and that means like the actual truth of like what's actually going on. If you have a narcissist that's like, hey, like fine, I'm an open book, ask me anything, he's lying. I mean, really, like, okay, maybe that's bad to say like a blanket statement, but like if someone says ask me anything, what that means is, hey, tell me what information you have so I can direct the conversation in control of whatever I want it to go. That's really what it's about. Because like when I say, "Hey, ask me anything," that means one, I'm thinking in my head, how much do you know? Where did I mess up? What did I leave out? What did I forget to clean up? What did I forget to change? Like I'm running through every single scenario of everything that you possibly might know. And then once you ask me a question, I'm like, phew, she didn't think about the other like 10 things. Oh, yeah, well, that happened. And I come up with like a weak excuse. So an narcissist is saying, like, hey, ask me anything. I'll be honest with you. Honesty should have happened in the moment. Honesty after the fact, a lot of times at that point, is going to be like manipulation. No, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist. I'm a narcissist that's on this platform to bring about awareness, growth, healing, and change. And I do that with talking with people on one-on-ones, doing lives, doing videos, having the NARC app, so people can try to find that healing and change on a day-to-day basis. And my goal with working with people on one-on-ones is to give them the tools and the resources so they can break free of that trauma bond. They can live through the detox phase of being with a narcissist, and they can find clarity and growth in their lives on a day-to-day basis. Ben, does it seem as if narc abuse is on the rise, or is it just because we are more aware what is going on? Is this population just increasingly selfish? Yes, this population is increasingly selfish. We're in the have it now culture times 20. That is along the ideas that we're also becoming more aware. That is along the ideas of culturally we're shifting to a more narcissistic society because of our parents, because of past relationships, because of past abuse, because of how people grew up, because of how the culture has been changing. I think the more awareness about it can bring another culture shift. But yes, no, absolutely. And it's going to continue to go that way. Yes, sorry, I said I have an app. It's called the NARC app, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, NARC app. Check it out. It's on Apple and it's on Google Play as well. The one time I cried, he just stared at you. You know why? At times when people cry, you're expressing an emotion that the narcissist doesn't know how to tap into. Like, what is actually happening? This person is crying. Narcissist is like, this person is like leaking. What do I do with it? They're having emotion. What do I do with that? They have emotion. They just don't know how to regulate it or how to deal with it. Do I help other narcissists? Yes, I do. I help other people who are narcissists or have narcissistic traits. They can contact me through my website. It's got a place like Narcissists Think You Are One. I charge them more because I want to know that they actually want to meet with me and that it's coming from them, not someone just saying, hey, go meet with this person or forcing them to. At the end of the day, I want to know that they want change, not just trying to manipulate the circumstances. Why does he keep threatening me with money and helping me? Why does he keep threatening me with money and helping with the kids? Threatening is just a form of control, keeping you on tap, keeping you trying, just like the idea of like triangulation, like keeping you trying to get better at what you're doing. Why do narcs try to destroy a person's ambitions? That's a good question. Narcs are out to control you and to get the most supply out of you. So if I can make your ambitions my ambitions, if I can make your dreams my dreams, if I can change the direction you're going so that you're serving me instead, that's a win. In reality, the narc doesn't give a care about your ambitions. All they care about is themselves. So as a result, it looks like they're destroying your ambitions. Ultimately, they're just destroying your boundaries and your drive to be a better person so that they can control you to be theirs. Why would he ignore me? And when I would tell him I'm done, that's when he talked to me. Great question. Very good question. Thank you, Jennifer, for putting that up. Check out my videos on YouTube because there's one on there. There's a couple of them on there that says, like, when the narcissist tries, like when you leave, like at the very end of the relationship, like the narcissist trying. And there's an aspect of the narcissist will try at the very end of the relationship so that they don't look like the bad guy when you walk out the door. So they can go to their friends and they could be like, I tried. Like, I asked her to go to therapy and she said it was over. Well, yeah, because it was like 6 years of abuse. Like, why are you going to give them a chance at the last second? Here's the thing. I want you to think of this. Okay. You've been with a narcissist 5 months, 6 years, 10 years, whatever. You've been with a narcissist for a length of time. And the entire time you've been saying, I want love. I want attention. I want support. I want validation. We're broken. So I want therapy. I want us to work on this. And it never happens. If you listen to anything tonight, listen to this. And it never happens. Okay. All that time, all those years, anything like that, it never happens. Then at the very last second, the time you're getting ready to walk out the door, the time you say you're done, all these different things, the very last moment, they'll either say something, they'll come back, or they'll demonstrate, hey, I want to work on this. Let's go to therapy, all this kind of stuff. Makes a crazy thought in your head of like, wait a second, they're actually trying. No, they're not. What I want you to hear is this concept, and I'm breaking it down very logically because I need people to understand this on a logical level when this happens, because otherwise you'll get to this point and you'll think, wait a second, something might be changing. I want you to think of this. If they're promising you everything, if they're saying everything that you wanted to hear, the entire relationship, do you know what that means? That means the entire relationship, they knew. They knew that's what you wanted, and they purposely did not give it to you the entire relationship. That's what you need to remember. That's what you need to hold on to. That's what you need to sit. You need to sit in that, you need to sit in that shit until it becomes so real to you that you're like, there is no possible way in hell that I would ever go back to this person. Because you realize in that moment, that when they magically changed, they magically got it together, they magically started to fix their life at the last second possible. They didn't just have an epiphany. It didn't all of a sudden come out and smack them in the face. It's been sitting in front of them the entire time that you were together with that person. The difference is their manipulation tactics on those specific areas ran out, so it's time to start a new one. And at that point, they promise you everything that you've always wanted. And what you have to realize is they always knew that was there the entire time. But they refused to give it to you. I hope that helped. I hope you heard that. I hope you heard that loud and clear, because it's very key for you to know that and understand how much that person is trying to manipulate and how much they are more concerned about their control of their image than they are of anybody else. All right, we're going to knock out some more questions here, then we're going to call it a night. So let's knock out a couple more, okay? How much of narcissism is a choice and how much is a mental health issue? It's a really good question. I think some of it depends on that scale from narc tendencies to full-blown narcissism. I think some of it depends on how much they're willing to acknowledge and admit things. I think some of it depends on their being willing to get into therapy, how much can actually be changed. And I think some of that comes down to God too. I think the only way narcissists can change is therapy and God. That's what changed me. Do you have any healthy relationships with family or friends, or only target certain people? I would say now in my life, I have some healthy relationships with my family. Don't have a ton of friends, not very many at all, because the ones that I did have were one of the ones that were, manipulation or were fake. What do you think? What do you think causes narcissism? So a lot of that's early childhood trauma. So trauma, physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse, or the idea of having overbearing parents or overindulging parents. Both of those aspects can lead towards that aspect of narcissism. And without them growing through it, without them getting emotional maturity, having emotional support, they get to a place where they don't regulate, don't understand how to control their emotions, and then you just have a lot of rage. The narc left me because he's planned exit strategy with a new supply. I voiced my concern to deaf ears. Yep. They walk right out. I called my narc out for all his bad behavior, and he said, "You will never text me again," and blocked me. Can't take the accountability. Now I think people are using the NPD diagnosis accusation. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, but you can call someone a narcissist by their traits. If you haven't seen one of the videos that I did a while back, is we need. I'm not on it. I'm not on this platform, and a lot of creators are on this platform to diagnose. I'm not a therapist, but I can't tell you the traits. I can't tell you how it's coming across. I can't tell you the appearance. Because when it comes down to it, if you have someone who is lying, you don't just say like, "Oh, they have lying tendencies." You don't have someone who's actually going around cheating with other people that you're like, they struggle with some cheating traits. No, you call them a liar, you call them a cheater. So if they're matching up with narcissistic traits, if they're matching up, if there's 9 of them out there, you have to have at least 5 to be diagnosed. But hey, if you start going down the list and you're like, wow, this person matches up to all of these, maybe they're a narcissist. Am I diagnosing them? No. Am I putting them in that box? No. Am I saying they're acting like that? Heck yeah. A lot of people get so stuck on the freaking label instead of understanding abuse is abuse. Whether it's physical, mental, emotional, sexual, whatever it is, spiritual. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, abuse is abuse. Doesn't matter about the label. Yeah. Abuse is abuse. If you don't follow her, follow that creator as well. She's awesome. I hope, if anything, tonight you guys have been able to glean some truth, be able to hear some stuff. I'm on this platform to bring about awareness about narcissism. Show you a little bit the shit that it's done in my life, how it's wrecked so much. I'm on this platform to try to help people. Awareness, growth, healing, change. That's what Raw Motivation is about. How I do that on a day-to-day basis is producing content on all these platforms. Got longer videos on YouTube. If you don't follow me on Raw Motivations on YouTube, please go over, check that out. There's longer videos on there. Special thing that's been coming out over the past couple weeks that I don't think anybody on here really knows about unless you listen to the podcast. There is a podcast, by the way. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. I think we're actually up on Amazon podcast now. But we just released our 3rd episode of Empath/Narcissist. And in that, I'm talking to a really good friend of mine. She's been a friend of mine for 17 years, something like that. I don't know, long time. She got out of college and got into a relationship with a narcissist, someone like me, except even more so, probably more on like the sociopath side. And in that, we start talking about our childhoods. Last one we did was like narcissists and religion, like our upbringing, how she was brought up, how I was brought up. We're gonna talk more about like abuse cycles. You know, she gets real with it. She talks about the abuse that started on her wedding night. That's when it started. Now it got so much worse to the physical abuse. I think it was like in the first episode, she even like brought up like the aspect of like the one day where like it just like clicked for her, you know, after she got out of the car and he took a baseball bat to the back of her legs. Really awesome person that's on there trying to help. But anyways, we've done 3 episodes now. We're gonna keep doing more, but it's empath narcissist, empath/narcissist. The name of the podcast is Raw Motivations. We're Raw Motivations everywhere, so check that out. If you don't follow on YouTube, please follow on YouTube. We've got longer videos there. That's where you start to see more of the vulnerability side. Some people like that, some people don't. Either way, it's fine. It's what I'm doing to work on growing me and helping other people. If you guys haven't seen, feel free to download the app, the NARC app, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Like-minded group of people who are either getting out or have gotten out. They're tracking their growth. They're tracking their no contact, trying to keep track with Truth Journal, making sure that they're focusing on growing themselves. If you guys want to talk, I do one-on-ones every single day. Today was 6. Tomorrow was like 7. Do one-on-ones every single day, working with people who are stuck in narcissistic abusive relationships, who are just getting out of narcissistic abusive relationships, and they're stuck with that trauma bond. They don't know what to do. And they're like, I think I'm crazy. Like, I know this person is toxic for me. I know this person is hurting me. I know this person is abusing me, but I don't know what to do. I'm like, hey, let's work through the feelings. Let's work through the emotions. Let's figure out the story that you're telling yourself. Let's base it. Let's put it on trial with the facts. And let's rewire your mind with a new story that's going to help you get free. Works amazing in abuse situations. It works amazing in life, period. I've coached people not just on the abusive side, but also on the life side, because that's what I try to work with people is in 3 stages. 1, trauma bond, getting people out of the trauma bond. 2, getting them through limbo land, so detoxing from narcissists. And 3, clarity, focus on future goals and values, of getting people to the place where they grow so much that you look back on yourself a year in the past and you see yourself with a narcissist a year ago, and you're like, wow, I don't even recognize that person because I've grown so much. I've got to a healthy place. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all being around tonight. We'll be back next Thursday. If you haven't checked out on Wednesdays, we'll be on typically 9 p.m., 9:15, because Lee and I sometimes get distracted, but 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on YouTube. We'll be on my YouTube channel next week on Wednesday, and 9 to 10. You'll see Lee and myself doing a dual live on there. So come to ask questions. We're excited to be able to do that, be able to help provide some clarity for people, some closure, answer some questions. I'll be back next week. Nobody's gotten frustrated with me running like multiple this week. I haven't done multiple in a while. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because you're not seeing them on all the other platforms. So tonight was a live on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Actually, Twitter. I don't think anybody follows me on Twitter, but that's totally fine because I don't even know how it got set up, but it's fine. Um, but I was really trying to keep up with a lot of the questions, a lot of the comments. So if I missed yours, totally sorry about that. Not trying to, wasn't intentional, and we'll be able to get to it another time. But yeah, absolutely. If you wanna talk sometime, you can click my link in any of the bios. It'll take you to a place where you can schedule time with me, or if you want to talk with my wife sometime, she has like a couple hours a week where she's available to be a resource for people who are on their journey of healing, trying to work through a lot of different things. She's got some resources, got some books that have been influential in hers. You follow me on Twitter. Awesome. I don't even know what my Twitter tag is. I think my virtual assistant set it up for me. I don't know. But yeah, thanks so much. Anyways, I was trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah. Yeah, the link in the bio, or you can go to rawmotivationscom and you can schedule there too. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Y'all have been great. Y'all have been really great tonight. Y'all have asked some really hard hitting questions. If I had to give a prize tonight, I'd probably have to get it to Instagram. I think Instagram had some of the best questions. They just had some really bomb thought out questions. Awesome. Anyways, thank you all so much. It was a really good live. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys can get some of those nuggets of truth on a day-to-day basis, following on some of the platforms. Hopefully you're able to glean something tonight. Excited to be able to talk to you guys, help out whoever I can, whether it's interacting on the apps or whether it's on one-on-ones. We're going to go ahead and start logging off. Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a blessed night. See y'all either on Wednesday on YouTube or next Thursday back here. Thank you all so much.